intro to VR Spaces. So, paano nagsimula si VR Spaces? Ano yung turning point mo, Jay? Nag-i-interview to eh. Ano yung turning point mo, OJ, na i-push tong si VR Spaces?
Remember we just joined so
Okay.
we know each other for like what, 12 years, 13 years, diba? Since
Ano ba? Since college days?
since college days, diba? So nung nagkita tayo ulit sa Makati, diba, I went back to Cebu 2015, 16. Yeah.
Ish.
And then we met up again around 2018, right? Tapos we went to the game jam, VR Philippines game jam, but these of course most of them are gamers, di ba?
Hosted ng VR PH, right?
Yeah, VR Philippines. So shout out to VR Philippines. So they had that. So we didn't really think of, you know, doing a startup, but we just connected the two, diba? Like being, you know, in the architecture world, and then, you know, with the emerging technology of VR, I think that's it just resonates with us that we can definitely use the technology in the practice of architecture. Yeah. Tapos yun, we saw na there's definitely a use case for it, especially when we made the first thing that we did, 'di ba, yung sa loob ng yung design mo ng condo, ginawa nating bahay, and then we have the guys from PLM and the guys from Adamson, sila ano, 'di ba, sila Bricks and Mark, Fidel, yeah, those guys, which are, you know, college freshies, di ba? Freshies sila, na computer engineering majors. Yeah. So they had the tech skills, but they needed us to guide them on the use cases of VR. So for VR, it's usually used for games, and yeah, pag sa gaming, obviously, you know, VR is being primarily used for gaming, but there's a lot else of use case, especially in the architecture world. And then we diverted that into, you know, use cases for architecture, for construction, for real estate, and things of that nature. Kaya now and just trying to use the technology for, you know, the profession of practicing architecture, and then that's how it came to be. And another co-founder that we have is Oliver, who's civil engineer, and he has one of the bigger construction firms in Quezon City, and of course he also saw the value that how VR can bring value to the construction space. So and then we just focused on that until, you know, we got a few early adopters in real estate. Obviously most of our clients are still, you know, people abroad who can appreciate and who has actually the capacity to have the hardware and things of that nature. Pero slowly, I mean, you know, the Philippines is catching up. You know, before it's like 100% of our clients talagang abroad, but right now, especially during the pandemic, 'di ba, na no choice yung realtors to sell their properties. You know, takot yung mga tao to go to a physical location to check out properties and things of that, na parang obviously for obvious reasons, because of COVID. And then that's where we saw na there's definitely some value that we can bring. You're just, you know, looking at VR, so using VR for properties, property tours, and obviously hotels are getting into it as well, and then restaurants and cafes. things like that. Right now we have an inquiry of doing a virtual mall. Literally, like for example, I'm gonna a bigger mall, and then obviously people don't want to go to malls so much. So kung gagawin siyang virtual mall that it's gamified, you can actually go to ano
Like yung parang flat na photos right now.
yeah. Like e-commerce right now, diba? You just have your, you just have the photo of the things that you would want to buy, but it's not very immersive. Na especially if you're gonna buy like clothes and shit, diba? Na parang I mean, there's ha? Ganun ba? May ano ba dito? Explicit shit.
Okay lang. Continue.
Ano ba dito? Rated PG. Anyway.
Ayaw mo yan.
Wala.
Okay lang,
Parang
okay lang.
tut.
So, from being a playboy to a tech startup, one of the best tech startup founders in the Philippines, right? Ito yung branding na tingin ko sa'yo, from being a playboy.
Hindi naman.
Yeah, he's a boy.
Hindi naman.
Huwag ganyan mo ka, hindi mo pag-
Ginagamit lang nila ako.
That's why we're friends. Anyway, ayun nga.
Nagpapagamit. How about for you, Timmy? Kasi I was talking about this, diba? And then when I went back to Cebu, ikaw tumawag sa akin eh. Tapos parang you say, parang you want in.
Oh, yeah.
Diba? How that came to be? Diba? That time you were doing the MLM with a health product, diba? Yeah, and then all of a sudden, tumawag ka, and then you were saying na okay, you want in and things like that. You would be able to help us there in Manila as obviously I'm in Cebu. Yeah, so how that came to you?
Well, kasi nag-start talaga siya sa sa Ukot and Rand. Like, nag-practice ako ng architecture because I'm an architect by profession, guys. And then, nakikita ko yung industry natin, not just in architecture, but napansin ko when it comes to creative industries. Hi, Kate! Ayan, mga like interior designers, graphic designers, multimedia artists, even the mga artistas na parang pasikat pa lang. Parang anything creative side, parang hirap dito sa Pilipinas pag compare ka sa ibang bansa. And na-experience siya first hand. So that was my hugot. And then I thought na baka kasi
Ay, aso mo.
may dog, sabi lang akong yun. So, and I thought kasi baka nasa akin yung thing, baka kasi hindi ako marunong mag-sale. Hindi ako
Right.
marunong sa marketing. Baka, alam mo, unang naisip ko agad responsibility. Kasi baka naman hindi ako siya marunong mag-close ng deal. So, let's be honest, OJ, when it comes to art school, creative school, hindi tinuturo sa atin ang closing deals.
Right.
Sales,
Yeah.
finances.
Yeah.
So parang doon ako parang hindi naman like naturo. Pero in a way, yun is one of my hugots na hindi ako marunong. So pumasok ako ng LM para lang maintindihan ko ano ba talaga yung nangyayari sa mundong sales.
Yeah, so for the people that don't know, Timmy and I also fraternity brothers. Yeah.
Tapos
Hindi kasi inaano ko diba sa RRQ school, when you said na hindi tinuturo sa atin yung sales, remember I was suspended for 1 year dahil sa Rumble. Tapos dahil doon nag-call center ako, and then that's where actually I learned how to sell.
really?
Yeah. Sa call center, because yun nga, as a 19-year-old na suspended sa school for 1 year, siyempre papauwiin ako sa di ba? Dahil sa Rumble.
But nauna ka nga talaga sa akin when it comes to like sa business talaga. Ano ba, 21 ka pa lang may restaurant ka na eh. So parang yung mindset mo nandun na.
Yeah. Parang
Parang blessing in disguise yung
Ngayon, pagka-suspend, di ba? Parang may pero hindi talaga namin ginulpi yun. Nahulog lang sila tapos nagkapasa. Anyway, di ba? When UST yun, UST mga praile. Ayo sinuspend yung ako eh. Tapos di ba, yung when I was suspended from school, no, I went to a call center job, and that's actually where I learned how to do sales. Kasi parang ano siya, hardcore selling yung ginagawa. So tapos telesales pa.
Tatapong ka talaga sa ilong.
Tapos US clients, kaya I can easily resonate with international clients. Kaya yun yung mga early adopters natin. Mas madali ko silang bentahan. I know how selling works there. They have their credit cards all the time. Tapos credit card lang naman, parang wala lang yun, swipe nyo lang, utang naman yun. Unlike here na you have to do a proposal, tapos ang para magbigay ng cheque yung kliyente. Parang ang hirap kung anong dadaanan mo para the local clients would actually adopt something, something like this. Yeah. So, yun, and then obviously wala naman tayong 'di ba? Wala naman tayong background in programming and tech. But we just really saw the use cases for architecture, and then until now, it's still in allied services. Most of our clients are still in the property space, real estate developers, contractors, brokers. And then some of them are restaurateurs and hoteliers, but it's all about putting the physical space into the virtual world, and nag-fast forward nga because of COVID, diba? What we're seeing is like probably a 5-year horizon that parang we don't pay ourselves first, and we're very bootstrapped. But then during this time, there's a lot of inquiries because of COVID, and I think it's just like some industries, were badly hit, but I think the digital and the virtual nature of the business actually propelled us to a greater height. So being like a 1-year-old startup, or going to so, and then we're just doing a lot of cool stuff that we wanted to share, and then especially the construction space, very traditional. Like most of the bigger guys are, of course, already in their 50s and 60s, and tapos pagbebentahan mo ng VR, or even just to explain what VR is, it's already very hard for us to do. So buti na lang, na there's like the second or third generation entrepreneurs na mga anak na nila or grandchildren nila who's being groomed to take over their businesses in the real estate development and things like that. So especially those forward thinking people, kaya medyo nakakaano tayo. We are getting a few clients right now because of that. And then I think this show, that's why we took this initiative, just for people to know more about VR, because obviously I think this is internet 1990s. If you remember internet 1990s, dial-up internet, then you have like 100 kbps of speed.
Maswerte ka kapag nakakonect ka.
Yeah, right. And I think VR right now, diba, very big. Tingnan mo yung mga VRs na headsets, like very big contraptions. Lalagay mo sa mukha mo, ang lalaki, di ba? I think this is the dial-up. This is like the dial-up internet. Diba? If you are thinking about, oy, VR ang pangit kasi ang laki ng headset, very bulky, the design is not that slick. But again, this is like the internet of 1990s that the technology is very early. But 25 years after that, we have Wi-Fi and we're gonna have 5G. But that's derived from the dial-up connection that we have in the 90s, and I think that's where VR is right now. And the long-term horizon, if we have like a 30-year window just to do this stuff, and I think we have the the time on our side, being in our early 30s, 30 years from now, and we're just gonna be in our 60s. So buhay pa rin tayo nun, and I think in that lifetime, by that time, VR would have been mainstream. Ha?
Ilan chicks ka nun?
Nakakaano ka na? Yep. Then, nawawala yung train of thought ko. Hindi.
Wala ko.
Kasi diba, if I'm saying VR is in its very early form, the VR is in its very early form. It's like the internet in the 90s, the dial-up internet. So what will be the VR 20 years, 25 years from now, na if it's already introducing its 5G equivalent? See, right now we are going to have 5G. So look at this, real time, having this conversation on Kumu, and this is all brought by the optimization of bandwidth and internet speed. Diba? That this is possible. But again, back in the 90s at dial-up connection, this wouldn't have been possible. Now imagine, in a 20-year window, if I'm saying that VR is still in its very early form, it's its infancy, then it's actually have the arbitrage to be the next internet. Parang yun yung nakikita ko na VR will be the next internet, in a sense that right now we are looking at a screen, and VR is like we will be living in it. We will be inside the screen with the people that we are talking to in a virtual world, that we can actually have our senses now with haptic suits and things like that. Parang Ready Player One, something like that.
Yun yung gusto ko nag-isip din na pangalan ng show natin in the future. Gusto na lang pilot episode 2. Diba? Ready Player One. Kasi yun gets kagad nila.
Right.
Naman, kailangan medyo consumer-centric ang galaw pagdating dito sa Kumu or Facebook.
Kasi imagine mo.
Alam na natin na very, very technical.
Right.
Pero pagdating sa mga consumer, like, nagsishare ako kaya ako nag-off cam.
Okay.
Pumunta sila. You can share the screen. You can share this sa Facebook mo, Jay.
Ano ba to?
Type mo yung arrow sa gilid. Tapos,
Facebook. Nice. Okay.
yeah. Yung ginagawa ko, yan.
Okay.
Share, Messenger, Instagram,
Okay, sige.
yeah, Facebook. Yan, there you go.
And then, tapos create, ano ba? But create room?
Parang nag-mute ka from time to time, no? Is it just me? Or parang, guys, yung mga nandito ba, is it just me na parang nawawala siya? Or, sa atin lang to? Hi, Crash, 143.
Sino na naman yan, Timmy?
So, kaya ako siya tinawag na coffee break yung episode 1 kasi, literally, parang tayo nagko-coffee break.
Okay.
Is parang mabilisang talk or show habang nagkakape. Parang tayo nag-uusap.
Okay.
Pero, nasa live stream.
Yeah.
Break. And may ibang nakakarinig. Parang ganun. Parang tayo nagchichismisan ng may ibang makakarinig. Hello, Kiko and Kuya Daniel.
Okay.
And I feel like excited yung mga founders na ginawa na natin tong show kasi we're the only ones doing it.
Yeah, I mean, especially for emerging technologies, like we really have to reach out to people and and evangelize. Yeah.
Mark G! Lopez nung sa pang Cebu. Ito yung sinasabi
Hello,
ko
hello.
na mga DJ mentors.
Hello.
Yan, si Buano Boys, si Mark, OJ
Yeah,
Mark.
may hapon ninyong tanan. Yeah. So as I was saying, I think, VR at its very early form, na ngayon we have this very big, like VR headsets. But if you can imagine na contact lens na lang siya, tapos lalagay mo, and then you would be transported to a virtual world. So I think that
Ito yung parang sa Black Mirror. Yung parang yung kinakabit.
yeah, I think that would be, the 5G equivalent of VR, 25 years from now. And then it's gonna be, we can feel, we are not gonna be limited on the screen, but we will be transporting ourselves inside of the screen, and everything, from doing online shopping and doing all these virtual assets. So right now, remember Peter, Timmy, yung taga Cebu din, yung dormmate ko back in college. So 'di ba fine art siya. So right now, pinahiram ko sa kanya yung Quest, and then he's doing VR art. So he's making all these 3D art, and then there's actually value in that because people are actually willing to buy the 3D art made in the virtual world, in the VR world. So that's crazy that there's actually in its very early form, there's already monetary equivalent of what they are doing. And then I know other startups who are actually selling VR real estate, like land. Like in the internet, the real estate is the domain name, right? If you own the sex.com or you own the banks.com, then you have that leverage to sell that to a bigger institution in the future. And then in the VR land, in the virtual land, you can definitely buy a virtual land, and all these virtual assets and digital assets, like for example, what you're doing right now in Kumu with these virtual currencies, right? Now if it's gonna be transported now to a VR world, then all these virtual currencies have actually value if you exchange it also for other virtual goods, like your virtual clothes and your virtual fashion gear and whatever, what have you.
I like how you said it perfectly. Paano mo may papaintindi sa consumer what is a VR virtual space?
Yeah, that's basically the real world in a third dimension, in a different dimension, diba? All these parang ang pupunta ng Asgard, diba? If you're gonna go to Asgard, and that's it's a different world that we're living in right now in reality. I think that's VR is, and people can definitely create their own virtual realities na in some, and then there would be like winners in that space, like right now, who's winning right now in the internet race? It's Amazon, it's Facebook, it's all these social media platforms. There's like 10 to 15 social media platforms are dominating the space, and I think there would be an equivalent startups or companies that would dominate in the VR landscape. So there would be an Amazon equivalent in VR. There would be a Facebook equivalent in VR. I don't think that it would be the same companies. Maybe Facebook, because they're very early. There's Facebook Horizon, who's doing what I'm just trying to explain, of a virtual world. And that's I think down the road, in a 20-year window, where VR is, and then if it's gonna be mainstream, obviously the tech has to be better. Uh, and but people are still using it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Hi, Ghost Teeth. Ghost Teeth, she's from San Francisco, but she's now here in Metro Manila. This is my
Nice.
business partner, Ghost. This is
Hey,
OJ,
what's
straight
up?
from Cebu. Eh, lagi ko ba nakwento sa'yo na fraternity brother ko na playboy na...
Please, boy pa.
Fraternity brother ko na playboy na tech startup founder.
Hello. Yun na, I'm a family man.
Family ba na daw siya? Yung mga ganyang mukha, mga pagkakalit. Ang kilabot din. Ang kilabot niya ng college yun.
Yeah, so
So, pag-usapan natin guys, mga bago is virtual reality, anong future niya. Yung parang sabi ni OJ kanina sa mga bagong pasok, right now, yung mga gear na kita nyo yung nasa likod or yung nasa poster natin, parang siyang yung kung naabutan niyo yung modem, yung maingay, gano'n. Like, bakit mo OJ para sa mga bagong pasok? Kasi maraming literal kakapasok lang eh.
ano no?
Any VR gear. Any VR gear.
This one. This is the Oculus Go. I think this is 2-year-old or 3-year-old. Yeah, so ang lalaki, 'di ba? If you're going to like put it like you have to be really on a safe space kasi mabubunggo ka eh, 'di ba? If you're just gonna be just wearing this. But I think the future it's gonna be more of a glass na if the electronics would be fit on a glass, or even I think down the line it would be just a contact lens. So, ganun na ka grabe yung technology, or yung parang kay Vegeta na parang gagawin ka tapos may ano dito, and that would transport you to a
Batang PX, kung millennial ka, kung alam niyo yung batang PX.
something like that. Yeah, so
Parang yung sa may Netflix sila, yung sa Black Mirror, yung isang show doon, yung naglalaro sila ng games, Mortal Kombat ata or something. Kinakabit nila ang
yeah.
ganun.
And then
Nawawala ka, okay, ba't ganun?
ano no?
Paano nawawala ka? Kailangan mo talaga siguro ng headphones or next time, headphones or
Sige.
mic.
Yeah, may mic ako, hindi ko lang makita saan.
O pag lumalayo ka, parang nagkakabulang kayo ng audio ng phone.
Right, sige. Yeah, next time. Let's go. Wait, this
Ano,
pilot
ano,
naman.
Ano pa naman eh.
And then the guest, I think the guest that we'll be inviting on the show would be, pioneers in VR that can explain, especially, there's a lot of niches in VR. Like for us, we're just doing, VR for properties and real estate. But again, there are people who are doing VR for education, especially right now. Now, I have a grade 1 son who's doing online class. But being grade 1, diba, dapat it has to be in a physical classroom, and it's very hard to teach a grade 1 how to read and how to write without a teacher actually guiding them. And then there's this startup called PCI Tech who's doing VR for education, and then they're doing AR worksheets and things of that nature na it's gonna be really cool for kids na if that's the immersive education that they have in the future, na you have access to these world-class teachers but not being physically there and paying for Harvard tuition just to be sitting in on the class. And I think that would be a very, very good for democratizing education. And VR is one of the technologies that can bring us there. Another thing that a few startups here are doing is VR for tourism. That's a VR startup here in Cebu called Mataverse is doing VR for tourism, and they are si Ryan. Ryan is doing VR for tourism, and basically the thesis is previewing a tourist spot before you even go there, just to appreciate, especially if you're a person from abroad or from outside of Cebu, and then you would be able to see how the whale sharks in Oslo would look like, and how the beaches would look like, and then you have just that preview, and you have like the expectation versus reality would now be lessened and minimized, because you have now an expectation of what it is that you would be looking at in real life once you really go to that place. And especially for those who cannot afford to fly, and especially during COVID time, then that's kind of escapism, that you can go to go to a space or go to the tourist spot that you once are there during when you were a kid, or you were with an ex, nung magmuni-muni ka dun. Then you can do that in the virtual world, di ba? Without judgment. You can do it on your own. Na gusto mo walang tao dun sa spot nyo, then you can do that in the virtual world.
I'm gonna take that down, yung sinabi mo about ex, kasi I think like yung sales wife, that's malakas.
Yeah. I think that's just all these use cases.
Emotional beings.
Yeah. And then there's another Swedish ba si Alex, or he's Scandinavian. I don't know what Swedish ata or Norwegian, I don't know. Because he's a Scandinavian guy who is in Manila, and they're doing VR for training. What does that mean is like firefighters would actually do like
Dating the virtual ex, Mark G.
yeah.
Mga hindi ba move on? Oh my God.
right, di ba?
Bagsak ko yun ng mga videos bago si OJ eh. He's one of the early adapters or early users dito, pero di siya nahirapan siya literal, legit na nag-stream. So please, bagsakan niyo ng mga cutie VGs para makita nila, OJ, yes, gusto ko yung dating the virtual ex.
Virtual ex.
Actually,
Or if you can actually create your own ideal virtual girlfriend.
Eh, meron po.
Wow, nice.
Tagalit taga Cebu kayo eh. Yung mga Cebu boys. The question from sa comment section si Jay. Sabi ni Banji, is one of my good friends here. OJ, are you also a beta tester?
Well, beta tester for what? No, I don't really beta test. We're doing our own stuff, kaya we're busy doing our own stuff, yeah. For Kumu, no, I am not. I just signed up.
Sige, early user, meaning kasi tech startup founder siya. So parang siyang ako, pag may nakita kaming mga Pinoy-owned na tech startup such as Kumu, may soft spot kagad kami. So si OJ, 2 years ago hindi pa daw ganito, sabi niya.
Ang ganda na nga eh, very
Kanya na nakabutan, 2 years ago. OJ, nawawala pa yung audio mo.
Ayan, kaya lumalayo nga kasi ako. Next time,
Ayan.
ayusin natin, dapat may mic, may lapel.
Okay, go.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
So yun, I think there's a lot of interest in the space, and the barrier of entry is low. I mean, Unity as a platform is free for developers, for devs who wants to know how to. And there's a community already in VR Philippines that is advocated. Obviously, it's most of them are in Manila. That's why we are advocating for in the provinces to actually try out the technology. So when I was in Bohol last year, and then I had kids try, high school kids try the VR headset, and then fast forward, I think pre-COVID, and they were telling me that they're interested to do a VR startup. Right now, they're freshmen in college, so that's a very welcome development.
Hi Mike, this is OJ Tan, one of the businessmen here sa Kumu Mike, this is OJ Lopez. Yun yung sinasabi kong business partner ko / one of the
Hey,
founders
hey.
ng VR Spaces. Yan. Mike, okay ta? OJ, Mike.
So,
Hello. Yan. Yun. Sabi ni Banji, OJ, 2 years ago daw or 2017, yung Malacanang is worth 15,000 coins lang. Right now kasi 50,000 na siya.
okay.
Yeah. Guys, bago lang po si OJ, I'm not making budol, pero sinasabi ko lang talaga na you can bagsak yung mga cutie na virtual gifts para makita niya. So, sa mga early users ng Kumu 2 years ago, kaso nga lang, ngayon lang siya yung legit na nag-stream. Tapos marami siyang kinukwento. Yung gusto ko malaman yung difference ng 2 years ago and
Ang laki ng difference. Like, yeah.
so, yun na, usapan mo yung O2 VR Philippines sa kailangan i-guess natin sila. At the same time, merong isang founder dito ng Kumu. His name is Angelo Mendez. He's he's into gaming and dati naging part siya ng Jarvis. VR software application sa States before. Kasi mga Silicon Valley Boys sila
Right.
Roland, diba?
Yeah.
Oh, so we can guess him as well. Sobrang matutuwa yun kasi parang one of his passions besides games is VR.
Right. Because yung
Yeah, si Angelo Mendez.
yeah, I think
Ano na ngayon?
gaming.
Sala natin tong show na to na VR talaga. As in VR. And there's a lot of gamers here. As in gamers na bayad OJ. Influencers, gamers na parang nagbe-venture din sa VR. So we can guess them as well.
Yeah. The VR kasi I think that the gateway drug is gaming talaga. So
Parang isa pa, pwede ko ba yung sabihin kasi
ano?
gaming and that. Gateway drug talaga siya. Gaming and that.
Yeah, the gateway drug for
So,
VR
that
is
really
definitely gaming.
Dating your virtual ex. Alam mo?
How about creating your ideal virtual girlfriend?
Oh my God, magiging number 1 user ako niya. Kapag marami, additional ka. Sa credit
Diba?
card.
In the virtual world nga, 'di ba? In the virtual world tapos may haptic suit tapos mararamdaman mo siya.
Parang Ready Player One.
'Di ba? That's gonna be like
Player One, pero iba yung labanan.
yeah.
Iba yung labanan ng pag-ibig.
Especially pag visual kasi 'di ba? I've always heard na na your brain cannot distinguish if it's real or not, if it's vividly portrayed. Di ba kaya natatakot tayo sa horror movies and things like that, especially if it's gonna be VR and it's lifelike. So it's gonna be very different from the world we're living in right now. And remember the hypothesis that we have that every construction project na dapat i-deploy mo muna in a virtual world to see and simulate it to see if there are flaws in the design. Like for example, flooding, very important right now, right? If we're gonna create if we're gonna create another building in Ortigas, how would that contribute to traffic? How would that contribute to pollution? And how would that contribute to flooding and things like that? And without that simulated model that can create a predictive framework, then we parang we are just putting it up to chance. But if we have the virtual environment, the virtual world, to see it through, if that building would actually be good for us or not, then then we can weigh in scenarios, especially like emergency situations, like if we would if there's fire, how would fire people or firefighters would go inside the building if they don't have that digital twin to practice on, then it's always gonna be the first time and there's gonna be always casualties. But if they already practice and in the virtual world on how it would become in the real world, then I think there would be a lot of more intelligent decisions, especially for our policy makers. If there's urban planning models in local governments, and in every government project, if gagawa tayo ng our 10th skyway, and we're gonna cost billions of pesos, tapos wala siyang simulated model, then we're just taking everything to chance, no? But if we can already simulate that in a virtual environment, and that there's no risk,
Way cheaper.
yeah,
Way cheaper.
yeah, it's gonna be way cheaper. Kasi ano mo you can mitigate the risk. You would be able to deploy multiple designs without actually constructing. And in those, if there's option A, B, C, and then put it on a simulated model, then we can definitely make more sound decisions in our infrastructure. And diba, may sinasabi sila na dapat daw yung bus sa EDSA nasa gitna. If they have simulated that in a virtual environment, then they could have put a conclusion long before. If talagang nagsasabi, okay, it would lessen traffic, or or lessen the accidents. And obviously there are AI systems right now that can give us data points. Of course, that's not going to be perfect, 100% accurate, but I think even if it's going to be 60 or 70% accurate, then there's a good chance that people's lives would be saved because of that decision that our policymakers or our leaders actually made, if they have that option to see that. Para kasing tumitingin sa future mo, di ba? If you simulate something on mathematical models, na if you deploy population growth and things like that, and then you would be able to see that with digital twins of cities that we currently have right now in the urban environment. And the deployment of infrastructure projects would have been very sound, and it wouldn't parang nagaano lang sa designer dahil si designer na ganito mas malapit kay presidente, di ba? So it wouldn't be that way anymore.
Darling, let's be honest, yun naman ang culture natin.
Yeah, pero at least, di ba,
Very grupo-grupo.
yeah, but at least there would be simulations, and then I mean, if you're a leader of the country, if you're a leader of your local government, then obviously you want to do a good job, right? And then if you can see that, foresee na, olats pala tong gagawin nating project na to, because according to the virtual model, it would collapse in 15 years from now, or something like that. If a magnitude 9 earthquake would happen, then half of Quezon City would now be destroyed. So those are the things that can be avoided, not building on top of the fault line. You can build 5 meters away from the fault line, but not on top of it. But obviously there's a lot of buildings right now, and then the Philbox ba yun, that they don't have that models to work with to come up with a memo and a policy na bawal tong gawin, and then they're not gonna be backed by science, but yeah,
They're not there yet. Di ba, meron tayong technology pero hindi ba tayo ganun ka-advance when it comes to like European countries and America?
right. Singapore is doing this. Developed countries.
Parang Netflix, OJ, remember Netflix? Di ba Netflix matagal na sa States?
Yeah, 2008 nag-stream na ng Netflix nun. Kailan lang bumunta sa Pilipinas, di ba? Like 3-4 years ago. Yeah, so anyway, I think that's my piece, that's my rant about VR and how I see VR will be on the future. Again, going back to what I said earlier, It's like the dial-up internet of the 90s on its current form. So VR is equivalent to the dial-up internet of the 90s. And fast forward 25 years, and if there's gonna be 5G, the 5G equivalent of VR would be something really awesome. So that's why we are really heavily investing on this technology, and we believe that this would be the next the next major computing platform. Not only according to us, but also according to Mark Zuckerberg, who bought Oculus for $2 billion. Dahil, yun.
Patang sa'yo eh. Pero siguro ano lang, pahapyaw lang. Pwede siyang gawin natin sa next episode. Like,
right.
in 2 weeks time. Binanggit mo na kasi si Mark Zuckerberg eh, di ba? Binili niya na yung Oculus.
Ano natin siya? Invite natin siya. Siya yung guest.
Na bumibili si Apple.
Ano na?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Na bumibili si Apple ng mga VR and AR startups. Sunod-sunod na sila, even the concerts.
Right, yeah. Next VR, si Apple ata bumili kay Next VR eh.
Ha?
Si Next VR is a company that does live events in VR. NBA parang sa NBA parang nasa courtside. So I watched the Raptors. This was 2019. So Raptors and Golden State in VR. I was watching that, and it's a $6,000 seat if you're gonna be live there in, di ba, in San Francisco to watch that. But in VR, I think I paid $12 for that. And then andun ka sa courtside, like you can see them. It's crazy na parang you can see live events in VR, things like that. And then I think next VR, if I'm not mistaken, was bought by Apple. So
yeah.
So
marami pinili sa Apple.
Right. So
tahimik na sila, kaya alam ko na yung galaw nila eh.
Yeah. Yeah, so all these companies are heavily investing on this technology, and for us, obviously, what we can do is just to ride the content wave. So we are trying to be the content creators for the property space. So that's why our startup VR Spaces is trying to do that right now in its very basic form. With starting with 360 photos and virtual tours for properties and things of that nature. Obviously, we have for pre-selling properties, we have 3D models and things like that. But in the future, I think walkthroughs and like gamified experiences for properties. The IKEA model of furniture on demand, things like that. That's something that we are very excited about, that we want to deploy on the local property market. Kasi tina-turn over usually is just bare units, diba? And then the condo units are still not furnished and things like that. But if you have a AR app or a VR application that would furnish the condominium for you with the help of architect or not, or maybe you can DIY, and then you would be able to see the cost involved in it.
Yung architect, sorry, I have to cut kasi baka makalimutan ko. There's a magaling dito na streamer. He's also an architect. Her name is Architect Micah Atienza. So I think we can guest her soon. Besides, like, gusto ko i-guess dito sa show natin, Jay, is besides the VR boys, the VR AR boys, given yun, sila Angelo Mendez, who's really into tech and gaming. Kasi nga, gateway drug ang games talaga.
Right.
So, perfect yun. And also, yung mga architects na, name mo yung architect dito, her name is Architect Mike Atienza, and I feel like we should collab with her.
Yeah.
Para makuha natin yung insight niya. Kasi we are the future eh. And sila, Architect Mike, sila yung present moment.
Right.
Yung nangyayari sa architecture. So in the future, I want to interview her as well. Hi Liana, this is OJ. This is my business partner from VR Spaces. Liana, she's based in California. Ba't gising ka ba, Liana?
Still 10 p.m., 11 p.m.
Oh yeah, 11 p.m. na ata, parang ganun. Yeah. Gising ka pa, Liana. Ayan. Hello, so this is my business. She's based in Cebu. That's OJ. 9 p.m. pa lang daw.
Pala, 9 p.m. pa lang.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I feel like, parang yung tong VR show natin, hindi lang siya basta focus lang sa VR, AR. We just gave it yun, matik yun, pag nakita
Hello.
yung show natin. Pero kailangan din natin mag-interview ng mga gaming, mga game influencers, gamers. Tapos para makuha natin yung insight nila,
Yeah.
diba? As a gamer, as an architect.
Even potential users, like for example, real estate brokers that doesn't really, use the VR yet for their marketing, but it could be help to them, especially right now during the pandemic, di ba, na walang physical site visits and things like that. So virtual reality is a platform that they can definitely take advantage of. But of course, without the content created, so mahirap pa ngayon in the Philippine setting to do that. So that's why we're here to try to bridge that gap, to bring in people to VR, starting with the real estate space, and we're very excited about what we're trying to do. With it's just accelerated because of the pandemic, na nakita natin yung value. Di ba? Na parang, especially when I had clients and we...
Hindi man admin. Hindi natin sinasadya.
Right, exactly.
We became an admin. Lagi na sasabi sa akin ng business mentor ko na, Timmy, don't be vitamin, become an admin.
Right.
Before kasi, let's be honest, ang VR, even sa gaming, parang nice to have siya. Pero hindi pa siya yung parang now na, gusto ko na.
Right.
Kailangan natin maging now na, gusto ko na.
Yeah. Alright. I think that's all I have for now, Timmy.
Okay. Alam ko matutulog ka pa lang.
Okay.
Before we end this, what social media mo, shows, lahat, ano ipa-plug mo, Jay?
Right now, secret lahat.
Facebook, Instagram. Yeah, you have to act like an influencer starting today.
Yeah, I mean, facebook.com/revastaff, facebook.com/vrspaces.ph.
Social media mo? Plug?
Instagram, OJ330.
Ayun guys, ako my name is Tim Sky. You know me, I'm an architect by profession. Now you know. Kasi ang branding ko lang dito, OJ, is DJing.
Ha?
Ngayon ko lang binuksan tong isang side ko. Actually, pinapakita ko minsan yung behind the scenes. Pero 1 hour lang. So, hindi nila nagigets kung ano yung nangyayari. Nakita lang nila ako nagko-computer. Pero ito kasi mas in your face na gets na nila kung ano talaga yung ginagawa ko besides DJing. So, my name is Tim Sky. I'm an architect by profession. Ngayon, kilala niyo na I'm also a DJ. No, I'm not just a DJ. I'm a tech startup pay. Ayun nga, social media on TV_Sky. That's Instagram, Facebook, Team Sky. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Tapos we have a guest. So, yung mga guests natin, OG, isend ko sa'yo yung mga names.
Sure.
Gusto ko, mga guests natin, fire.
Yeah. Excited about it. Alright.
Ayun, guys.
Yeah, thanks for putting this together,
Okay.
Timmy. Alright, bye.
Bye guys. Good night, Jay.